Hey YouTube, this is Lance Cannibal, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review and disassembly of the Walther P22 chambered in .22 long rifle. It's a cool little design. I picked this up for a little over $300, brand new. I originally bought it so I could teach my fiance how to shoot, but I've actually used it even more than she has, and it's just a great little training gun. And it's cheap to shoot, which anymore everybody knows the ammo prices are kind of getting ridiculous. But like I said, it's cheap. It's a little over $300, brand new, and I'm sure you could find them used. I haven't had really any issues with the pistol. It does, prefer certain ammunition more than others. I tend to shoot high velocity or hyper velocity loads through it, and cycles pretty much flawlessly with those. Standard loads with 22 long rifle, it's hit or miss. Sometimes you'll have some failure to ejects, or sometimes it might cycle the action, but it won't actually cycle it enough to strip a round from the magazine. So you will have some issues. It may be different with, a different gun might have certain issues with high velocity loads. But mine particularly likes high velocity and hyper velocity. And that's kind of what I've heard across the board. Pretty much, the exact same components as a normal standard handgun and, a centerfire cartridge. You've got your manual safety with your safe and your fire positions. You have your sights, you have your hammer, where this one is a double action and single action pistol. And that's about it. Like most Walthers, it has kind of a different magazine catch or magazine release button, which I'll show you after we clear the pistol. As I'll show you right here, this instead of like a push button magazine catch, it actually has somewhat of a lever that you can either manipulate with your thumb or with your middle finger if you're right-handed on the right side of the pistol. Once you get shoot it a little bit, it becomes second nature, and it's not too bad. I prefer a push button, but once I got used to this, it's pretty good. So to take the magazine out, you just swing that lever downward. It's just a little bit of a push for it. You can take the magazine out. This specific model, I think all the Walther P22s that will not fire with the magazine taken out of the weapon. I think that's some kind of California legislation, but I'm not quite sure about that. But if you take the magazine out, the weapon is incapable of firing. So it's, again, one of those little safety features. So take the magazine out, and we will clear the weapon, which, as you can see, is clear. A little physical check, nothing in the chamber. Okay, now, the easiest way to take off the slide is with this magazine, or this slide release lever, I think is what they call it. But it's similar to a Glock design, where with the Glock you have two different kind of like little buttons that you have to push down on. This one is just a single piece that wraps from this side of the frame all the way around underneath the trigger guard. But it can be a little finicky sometimes, but the easiest way I've found to do it is just using your fingernails. And if you just kind of push the firearm down with the muzzle orienting upward, if you take your fingernails, you can kind of just click that straight down, which, as you can see, is pulled down like that. Now from here, the slide is free to come off. With a lot of rimfire 22s that are specifically just the 22 rimfire, the slide will actually have to come straight off the back. Now, if you happen to have dropped the hammer, which can't do without the magazine in, but we got the magazine in, on safe, let the hammer come forward. Now, if you try to take the slide off with the hammer down, you're going to want to make sure you cock the hammer back, because that slide is going to hit tension with that hammer back there. So it's going to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So if you just cock that hammer back to the rear, then you'll be able to slide to the rear, and then you just kind of lift up on the back end like so, and then you'll be able to slide the slide off of the frame, which basically the same kind of stuff. It has a right there, that little button is the trigger safety mechanism, which I think is another California legislation. So you just take that off. You can clean out this area, clean out the face where the firing pin is located, oil around in through down in here and in through the guide rails that ride on the frame. But it's basic cleaning is all you really need. And once you do take the slide off, you'll be able to take out the recoil spring and the recoil spring guide rod. Now, the hard part is getting the slide back onto the frame, which I'll show you is kind of a pain. The barrel, sorry, I forgot to tell you, the barrel does not come off. The barrel is semi-fixed into the frame. You can just run patches straight through it, or like a bore snake or something like that. You can take the barrel off, but that's only for if you're going to replace the barrel, which they do have, like I think a 4 or a 5-inch or something, like I think a 5-inch long barrel, and also they have like barrels that are suppressor ready and stuff like that. So for normal cleaning, you're going to keep that barrel on. There's no reason to take it off. But back to the slide and getting it back on. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's pretty routine and pretty easy. But the problem is when you put the recoil spring and recoil guide rod back into the frame, which there's a little hole that it sits right into. The hard part is the guide rod is not like a full length. It only covers like 2/3 of the spring. So with the slide, you actually have to compress the spring straight back onto the guide rod, which the spring can bend a little bit and it'll like kind of jam up into the slide. So that's where the aggravation comes from. But if you just take the slide and see that smaller hole, that's where the recoil spring kind of sits down into. If you just sit that in there like that, and with a little finesse, kind of guide the spring back onto the guide rod, like so. Push it all the way back until it kind of seats back down on the frame. And then, if sometimes it might hang up on the hammer a little bit, if you take some pressure off the hammer, you can slide the slide straight back down on the frame. And before you do like a function test or anything like that, you're going to want to make sure you push that slide release lever back into the upright position. Now the pistol's fully reassembled. Now, to do a function test, all you have to do is take your well, actually, before you even put the magazine in, cock the hammer, put it on safe, pull the trigger. Nothing should happen. The hammer should stay in the rear position. Now, if you put it on fire and you pull the trigger, it should do the same thing. Nothing should happen because of the magazine safety device that's inside the frame. Now, if you put the magazine back up into the frame and you put the weapon on safe, lo and behold, this will actually drop the hammer. It's not actually contacting the firing pin because of the safety mechanism, but basically what that is a quick way to decock the hammer. I personally would never decock the hammer this way by having a weapon chambered and loaded, and if you have it on safe and you want to decock the hammer, I would never pull the trigger without letting my thumb guide the hammer down. That's just because the safety is mechanical and you can never trust something mechanical. Now, same deal. If you put the weapon on fire and cock the hammer, it'll fire. Which you can actually tell the difference when you look down between the hammer and the firing pin. You can tell the difference when it's on safe and on fire. On fire, you could see it go fully seated forward, striking the firing pin, and on safe you can see that it's just fractions of an inch away from actually making contact with anything. But other than that, that's how you take the slide away from the frame, so you can clean out the barrel, clean the slide components, and clean off the recoil spring and the guide rod and everything like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And thanks for watching.